Hey guys, it is Slashback Saturday again, and the theme that Joe, the horror man, has chosen for us this week is titled Bloody Slashers. And by that, he means slasher films with the word blood in its title, or any variation thereof. And the film I've chosen to review this week is Bloody Homecoming. And the main reason why I've chosen this one is a little while back I had reviewed Varsity Blood for the sports theme slasher film week, and I realized that I haven't watched Bloody Homecoming, and both titles have blood in the title. So I figured, well, I'll give this one a go. And I just finished watching this one. All right, let me get into the plot of this one real quick. Essentially, this one actually starts on homecoming night, and a group of freshmen are excited to go to the homecoming dance. But when they get there, they get blocked by the football team. They're all seniors. But it turns out that one of the group is actually the quarterback, star quarterback, and he actually set this whole thing up because he wants to make the moves on his girlfriend on the 1 month anniversary. So he takes his friends over to another section of the school, which ends up being the drama department area, and he's got it all set up with alcohol and stuff. And he gets his girlfriend alone, and he tries to coerce her into having sex. But when she rebuffs him, he tries to rape her, and she gets saved by her best friend. And so they lock him in the closet area, and then they go outside because they can see that the girl's upset. And while they're talking about it, the boyfriend is banging on the door, but unfortunately he set it up with candles and everything, and he knocks the candle over and causes a fire. And by the time they go back to save him, he's died. And then it cuts to 3 years later, and this section is done really poorly because I thought it was only a year later. But now they're all seniors at the school, and they're finally going to have another homecoming dance, which they didn't really mention that they hadn't had one since the death all those years ago. And at this point now, there's a killer running around, and it's targeted everybody that was involved with the incident. And it first starts with everybody getting a letter, and all the letter says is "Happy Homecoming" in really ominous writing. So they take it to the principal, and then he's like, "Well, nothing I could really do," and the kids are still kind of freaked out about it. And later on, they're being stalked by a killer wearing a firefighter's uniform, and they kind of crumbly. That's not even a word. They clumsily explain it away too, because one of the red herrings in the story is a janitor. His name Fred. He kind of looks a little bit like a Michael Berryman a little bit, but he's also a volunteer firefighter on the side, which is kind of a weird thing, but he is. So whatever. But this is where it gets kind of weird because the killer really should have been using a firefighter's axe because that would be the weapon. Instead, the killer uses the old spirit stick, and I guess but it doesn't look like it looked like metal to me when I was watching the film, but I guess it's supposed to be a stick. It's sharpened, and that's the main weapon of choice of this killer. The one thing I did like is one of the kills early on in the film was of a character that I thought that was going to be the final girl, which kind of surprised me that it didn't go that way. Um, I won't get into it. Like you'll know when you know. It's a scene that kind of reminded me a little bit of something out of Scream. This film is such a weird film because it also has elements of I Know What You Did Last Summer, although the kids really weren't at fault for the death, which is another awkward thing too. Um, the principal kind of blames the kids for the death, and then there's a scene too where another red herring is introduced in the dead child's father, who's actually the sheriff, and he's blaming the kids for the death too. It's a really weird scene. It's really odd. Another weird thing about this movie too is this high school doesn't have a really big staff. There's like a couple teachers. There's like a gym teacher, a football coach, and then the principal. Really odd how they had this thing set up. And the principal's actually married to one of the teachers, and they kind of bring that in clumsily too, where he's at his desk looking at his computer. He's actually checking out images of the young girls in the school when this happens, and then the wife comes from behind, tries to rub his shoulders, and he brushes her off. Then he started talking about how this child had died, and how the sheriff is upset, and I guess the sheriff's wife has also gone insane over this. And then his wife, the principal's wife, says, "Hey, like it must be hard to lose a child." And then the principal says, he replies, "Well, how would you know? You can't even have kids." And then she rushes off in a huff. It was such a weird scene. It was an awkward scene, but it was also kind of very amusing as well. The kills in this movie are just okay. There's like one or two really cool ones. Um, there's nothing earth shattering. Um, the acting is all over the place. Unfortunately, I think the best actress in this film gets killed off a little too early. The one that has the most personality, because a lot of these people don't have any personality. There's a lot of static shots in this film too. Really, there were probably too many static shots in this movie. And there's also a really awkward kill with a broken balloon, which I don't know how they could have made that into something. And it didn't really work. Like I would have redone that if I was making this one. This film kind of grew on me though. It's like when they revealed who the killer was, it's so far out of left field, and the person is actually relishing chewing up the scenery that it actually made me enjoy this movie. This film has a really low Rotten Tomato score. I think it's actually better than its score. I actually enjoyed Bloody Homecoming more than Varsity Blood. Um, I can't really recommend it though because it's like there's a couple so bad as good scenes in it, but there probably isn't enough, and it's not really, you know, really anything special. But I did enjoy this one. So that's my review for Bloody Homecoming. And as always, I'll put a link to Joe's review for this week in the description box. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you all next time.